The sun was setting, casting a warm, golden hue over the city skyline as Emily adjusted the strap of her handbag and took a deep breath. She had been planning this night for weeks, meticulously selecting every detail of her outfit, from the sleek black dress that hugged her curves just right to the delicate pearl earrings that caught the light with every turn of her head. Her makeup was flawless, a perfect blend of soft pinks and subtle shimmer that accentuated her features without overpowering them. She had even practiced walking in her new heels, determined to move with confidence and grace. Tonight was the night she would finally step out into the world as her true self, even if just for a few hours. Emily had always known she was different. From a young age, she had felt a disconnect between the person she saw in the mirror and the person she felt inside. It wasn't until her early 20s that she began to understand and embrace her identity as a transgender woman. Crossdressing had been her first step towards self-expression, a way to explore her femininity in the safety of her own home. But as time went on, the walls of her apartment began to feel more like a cage than a sanctuary. She longed to experience the world as Emily, to feel the freedom of being herself in public, even if only for a little while. And so, with a mix of excitement and trepidation, she had decided to take the plunge. She had chosen a bustling part of the city where she was unlikely to run into anyone she knew, a place where she could blend into the crowd and simply exist as herself. As she stepped out of her apartment building, the cool evening air brushed against her skin, sending a shiver of anticipation down her spine. She felt alive in a way she hadn't in years, as though she were finally stepping into the life she was meant to live. The city was alive with energy, the streets filled with people enjoying the warm summer evening. Emily walked with purpose, her heels clicking against the pavement in a rhythm that matched the beating of her heart. She passed by cafes and boutiques, their windows glowing with warm light, and felt a sense of belonging she had never known before. For the first time, she wasn't hiding. She was simply Emily, a woman out for an evening stroll, and it felt incredible. She decided to stop at a small bistro she had always wanted to try, a charming little place with outdoor seating and a menu that promised decadent desserts. As she approached the hostess stand, she felt a flicker of nervousness, but pushed it aside. She had come this far, and she wasn't about to let fear hold her back. "Table for one, please," she said, her voice steady and confident. The hostess smiled warmly and led her to a table near the edge of the patio, where she could people watch while she enjoyed her meal. Emily ordered a glass of wine and a slice of chocolate cake, savoring every bite as she soaked in the atmosphere around her. The other patrons seemed to pay her no mind, and she felt a surge of relief. She was just another woman enjoying a night out, and it was everything she had hoped it would be. As the evening wore on, Emily decided to take a walk through a nearby park, a beautiful green space that was popular with locals and tourists alike. The park was lit with soft, golden lights that cast a magical glow over the pathways, and the sound of laughter and music filled the air. She felt a sense of peace as she strolled through the park, her heels crunching against the gravel path. For the first time in her life, she felt truly free. But as she reached the edge of the park, her heart sank. She reached into her handbag for her phone to check the time and realized with a jolt of panic that it wasn't there. She must have left it on the table at the bistro. Without thinking, she turned on her heel and began to retrace her steps, her mind racing as she tried to remember where she had last seen it. By the time she reached the bistro, it was closed, the lights dimmed, and the chairs stacked on the tables. Emily's heart pounded as she realized the gravity of the situation. Her phone was her lifeline, the key to her apartment, her ride home, and her connection to the outside world. Without it, she was stranded. She knocked on the door, hoping against hope that someone was still inside, but there was no answer. She tried the handle, but it was locked. Desperation began to set in as she realized she had no way to get back into her apartment. Her keys were on the same keychain as her phone, and she had no cash or cards on her, just the clothes on her back and the contents of her handbag, which amounted to little more than a lipstick and a compact mirror. Emily's mind raced as she tried to think of a solution. She could try to find a payphone, but she didn't have any change, and even if she did, who would she call? She didn't have any friends or family nearby who could help her, and the thought of explaining her situation to a stranger was overwhelming. She felt a wave of panic rising in her chest and forced herself to take a deep breath. She needed to stay calm and think clearly. As she stood there, trying to come up with a plan, a group of women walked by, laughing and chatting as they made their way down the street. They were dressed to the nines, their outfits stylish and sophisticated, and Emily couldn't help but feel a pang of envy. They looked so confident, so carefree, and she wished she could feel that way too. One of the women noticed her standing there and paused, her expression softening as she took in Emily's distressed state. "Hey, are you okay?" she asked, her voice kind and concerned. Emily hesitated, unsure of how much to share. But something about the woman's warm demeanor made her feel safe, and before she knew it, the words were tumbling out. I locked myself out," she said, her voice trembling. "I left my phone and keys at a restaurant, and now I don't know what to do." The woman's eyes widened in sympathy. "Oh no, that's awful. Don't worry, we'll help you figure something out." She turned to her friends, who had stopped a few paces ahead, and quickly filled them in. Within moments, the group had surrounded Emily, offering suggestions and words of encouragement. "Do you live nearby?" one of the women asked. Emily nodded. "A few blocks away, but I can't get in without my keys." "What about your building manager? Could they let you in?" Emily shook her head. "They're not available after hours, and I don't have their number memorized." The women exchanged glances, and then the one who had first approached her spoke up. "Okay, here's what we'll do. We'll take you to a nearby hotel and get you a room for the night. You can sort everything out in the morning when the restaurant opens, and you can retrieve your phone." Emily's eyes filled with tears of gratitude. "Thank you so much," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know what I would have done without you." The woman smiled and placed a reassuring hand on Emily's arm. "It's no problem at all. We've all been in tough spots before. Come on, let's get you settled." As they walked to the hotel, Emily couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at the kindness of these strangers. They had taken her under their wing without hesitation, treating her with a level of compassion and respect that she hadn't expected. For the first time all night, she felt a glimmer of hope. The hotel was a modest but comfortable place, and the women helped Emily check in and get settled in her room. Before they left, they exchanged numbers with her, promising to check in the next day to make sure she was okay. Emily thanked them profusely, her heart overflowing with gratitude. As she lay in bed that night, staring up at the ceiling, Emily reflected on the events of the evening. Despite the challenges she had faced, she couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. She had stepped out into the world as her true self, and even though things hadn't gone exactly as planned, she had handled it with grace and resilience. And in the process, she had been reminded of the goodness in people, of the kindness that could be found in the most unexpected places. The next morning, Emily woke up feeling refreshed and determined. She made her way back to the bistro, where the staff had found her phone and keys and were holding them for her. As she left the restaurant, she felt a renewed sense of confidence. She had faced her fears and come out stronger on the other side. As she walked back to her apartment, Emily couldn't help but smile. She had done it. She had taken a step toward living her truth, and even though it hadn't been easy, it had been worth it. She knew there would be more challenges ahead, but for the first time, she felt ready to face them. She was Emily, and she was finally free to be herself. Emily's steps felt lighter as she made her way back to her apartment, the morning sun casting a soft glow over the city. The events of the previous night still lingered in her mind, but instead of feeling anxious, she felt a strange sense of accomplishment. She had faced a crisis head-on, and with the help of kind strangers, she had made it through. It was a reminder that the world wasn't as scary as she had once believed, and that there were people out there who would support her, even if they didn't know her story. When she reached her apartment building, she hesitated for a moment before unlocking the door. The familiar surroundings felt different now, as though the walls had shifted slightly overnight. She stepped inside, her heels clicking against the hardwood floor, and took a deep breath. The apartment was quiet, the stillness a stark contrast to the bustling energy of the city streets. For a moment, She felt a pang of loneliness, but she quickly pushed it aside. This was her space, her sanctuary, and she was determined to make it a place where she could truly be herself. Emily spent the rest of the morning unpacking the events of the night before, replaying the moments in her mind, and reflecting on what she had learned. She realized that while the experience had been nerve-wracking, it had also been empowering. She had proven to herself that she could navigate the world as Emily, even in difficult circumstances. It was a small victory, but it meant everything to her. As the day wore on, she found herself feeling restless. The apartment, which had once felt like a safe haven, now felt confining. She longed to be out in the world again, to feel the sun on her skin and the wind in her hair. She glanced at the clock and saw that it was still early afternoon. There was plenty of time to enjoy the day, and she wasn't about to let it go to waste. She decided to head to a nearby shopping district, a vibrant area filled with boutiques, cafes, and street performers. It was the perfect place to lose herself for a few hours, and she was eager to explore it as Emily. She spent some time carefully selecting her outfit, choosing a flowing sundress in a soft pastel color and pairing it with a wide-brimmed hat and sandals. She applied her makeup with a light hand, opting for a natural look that complemented the sunny weather. When she was satisfied with her appearance, she grabbed her handbag and headed out the door. The shopping district was bustling with activity, the sidewalks crowded with people enjoying the beautiful day. Emily felt a thrill of excitement as she joined the throng, her heart beating a little faster with each step. She wandered through the shops, browsing racks of clothing and admiring the displays in the windows. She tried on a few pieces, reveling in the way the fabrics felt against her skin and the way the colors brought out her features. It was a small indulgence, but it made her feel alive in a way she hadn't in years. As she was leaving one of the boutiques, she noticed a small crowd gathered around a street performer. Curious, she made her way over to see what was going on. The performer was a young woman with a guitar, her voice clear and melodic as she sang a hauntingly beautiful song. Emily found herself captivated, her worries melting away as she listened to the music. When the song ended, the crowd erupted into applause, and Emily joined in, her heart swelling with joy. As the performer began her next song, Emily felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned to see a familiar face, one of the women from the night before, the one who had first approached her and offered help. The woman smiled warmly, her eyes lighting up with recognition. "Emily, right?" she said. "I thought that was you. How are you doing?" Emily felt a rush of gratitude and relief. "I'm doing well. Thank you so much for asking. I can't thank you enough for what you did last night. You really saved me." The woman waved her hand dismissively. "It was no trouble at all. I'm just glad you're okay. What are you up to today?" "Just enjoying the day," Emily replied. "I needed to get out of the apartment and clear my head." "Well, you're in the right place for that," the woman said with a laugh. "I'm Sarah, by the way. It's nice to officially meet you." "It's nice to meet you too, Sarah," Emily said, feeling a sense of connection she hadn't expected. "Are you here with your friends?" Sarah nodded. "Yeah, we're just hanging out for the afternoon. Do you want to join us? We're about to grab some lunch." Emily hesitated for a moment, unsure if she should intrude. But Sarah's warm smile put her at ease, and she found herself nodding. "I'd love to if you're sure it's okay." "Of course it is," Sarah said, linking her arm with Emily's. "Come on, I'll introduce you." Sarah led Emily to a nearby cafe, where her friends were waiting. They greeted Emily with the same warmth and kindness that Sarah had shown, and Emily felt herself relaxing as she joined their conversation. They talked about everything from their favorite places in the city to their plans for the weekend, and Emily found herself laughing and smiling more than she had in a long time. It was a reminder that she wasn't alone, that there were people out there who would accept her for who she was. As the afternoon turned into evening, the group decided to head to a nearby park to watch the sunset. They found a spot on a grassy hill overlooking the city, and as the sky turned shades of pink and orange, Emily felt a sense of peace settle over her. She was surrounded by new friends, people who had welcomed her with open arms and made her feel like she belonged. It was a feeling she had longed for, and she was determined to hold on to it. When the sun had finally set and the stars began to twinkle in the sky, the group began to disperse, each heading their separate ways. Sarah turned to Emily and gave her a hug. "It was so great spending the day with you," she said. "We should do it again sometime." "I'd love that," Emily replied, her heart full. "Thank you for everything." As she made her way back to her apartment, Emily felt a sense of contentment she hadn't known was possible. The day had been filled with small moments of joy and connection, and she knew that it was just the beginning. She had taken a step toward living her truth, and in doing so, she had found a community of people who supported and accepted her. When she reached her apartment, she paused for a moment before unlocking the door. The familiar surroundings no longer felt confining. Instead, they felt like a blank canvas, a space where she could continue to explore and express her true self. She stepped inside, her heart light and her spirit free, and knew that she was ready to embrace whatever came next. Emily was no longer locked out, not from her apartment, and not from the world. She had found her place, and she was determined to make the most of it. As she closed the door behind her, she felt a sense of hope and possibility that she knew would carry her forward. She was Emily, and she was finally free to be herself. Thank you so much for watching till now. It means the world to have you here. This community is all about empowering each other and celebrating the incredible journeys of everyone on their path to living authentically. If you're ever feeling lost or alone, remember you have a whole family here for you. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and let's keep inspiring each other, sending you all the love and strength in the world. Until next time, live your life by your rules.